everybody! Welcome to this week's episode of Virtually Alive. When you look up at the sky at night, you can see the Earth's moon glowing in the dark. Did you know that the moon we see is actually the only moon that Earth has? This moon is considered Earth's only natural satellite, which is just a fancy way of saying it's the only space body that orbits our Earth. Other planets can have more than one moon or natural satellite, with Saturn having the most of these at 82. These satellites can range in size, from really big to really small. Our moon is the 5th largest in the entire solar system. The moon has a lot less gravity than we have on Earth. However, there are some similarities, like mountains, and some scientists even believe there might be water too. The moon also has very extreme temperatures compared to Earth. It can be really, really hot or really, really cold, depending on the time of day. The moon's surface is rocky and full of craters, and is much, much smaller than the Earth that we live on. The light that we see reflected from the moon is just that, a reflection. While the moon doesn't actually create any of its own light, it reflects the light from the sun, and that is why it looks like it is glowing. You may have also noticed that the moon doesn't always look like it's the same shape. This is because the moon actually looks different depending on which phase of its 27-day earthly orbit it's on. Because the moon moves around the Earth, we see different parts of the moon lit up as it circles us. There are 8 main phases of the moon's orbit around Earth, and each phase looks slightly different. As you've seen on the screen, the 8 stages of the moon go like this: new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, and waning crescent. This next activity will help us create a visualization of all the stages of the moon phases. For this activity, you will need the 4 sheets of paper that are in the description box below, as well as 1 extra piece of blank paper. I only have 1 of the 3 black shapes printed out, and that is because I ran out of ink, but because the 3 pages that have the black shapes on them would require a lot of ink to print out, feel free to just use some black construction paper and cut out something roughly the same size, or draw something on white paper roughly the same size and color it in black. Once you have all of your pieces, cut out the black shapes and then cut out the circle in the center of the main worksheet. Once you have that done, cut off the sides of the worksheet with the moon phases as shown, and then tape the paper into the center of the blank paper at the top and the bottom. This should create a little space in between the 2 sheets of paper for you to slide something through. Next, you can slide in one of the black shapes between the 2 papers so that it is behind the circular moon, and then tape the sides above and below so that there is only a small opening to put the black shapes through, and voila! Now you are able to show each phase of the moon and can practice memorizing it and matching them with what you see in the sky. The next activity is all about what you see on the surface of the moon. Now, have you ever looked at the moon and thought that it kind of looked like cheese? While it's not actually cheese, the reason that the moon looks like that is because of the craters that are on its surface. These craters are created by asteroids and meteorites that collide with the surface of the moon. In this activity, we can see how craters are made and how their shapes and sizes are influenced by the force and direction that the space objects hit the surface. To do this activity, you are going to need flour, cocoa powder, a large plate, and rocks. To start, I went outside to grab some rocks. I would recommend grabbing some smaller rocks just so that you don't accidentally break anything or hurt anyone if it kind of bounces off the plate and hits something. Then, I added flour onto a plate and spread it evenly across the surface. Next, you add a fine layer of cocoa powder onto the top just so that you can see the craters you create a little bit better. Now, using the rocks that you so carefully collected outside, you can throw them, place them, and drop them carefully onto the plate. As you can see, the crater size looks different depending on how hard and what direction the rocks are thrown onto the plate. And that's it! Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye!